Life is not perfect. Never has been and never will be. Now, this is not necessarily bad news. In fact, once we begin to embrace the fact that life will never be perfect, it becomes easier to discover happiness in the circumstances around us. Why then do we continue to complain about imperfections? And we complain about everything. We complain about the weather, the traffic, the weeds in our yard. We complain about tight clothing and misplaced keys and late airplanes and the price of gasoline. We complain about our jobs, or if we don't have a job. We complain about nosy neighbors and loud birds and lazy spouses and barking dogs. We have become a society quick to complain. But complaining is almost never a positive reaction to our circumstances. Now, there are times, of course, when notifying someone of an injustice is good and proper, but most of the times we complain simply because it's our natural response to circumstances. But the response ought to be reconsidered in our lives because complaining is rarely healthy. In fact, there are many negative outcomes to it. Complaining feeds and breeds a negative response within us. It fosters a negative attitude. It negatively impacts those around us. It disqualifies the value of discomfort. Complaining rarely changes our circumstances. It leaves us in victim mode. And, to be honest, it's quite unattractive. On the other hand, there are numerous benefits to complaining less. It shifts our focus to the positive. It allows gratitude to take root. And cheerfulness is an excellent beautifier. How then might we begin to overcome the habit of complaining? Well, first, let's realize that lifestyle changes can take time, and then consider adopting some of these helpful steps. Number one, intentionally decide to make a change. Many of us complain only because we've never considered not doing it. We've never been alerted to its harmful effects, or we've never thought about how it affects us and the people around us. We never considered that there might be a better way. But given the choice, most of us would prefer to give life rather than drain life with our words. So determine to do just that. Number two, embrace the reality of an imperfect world. Life is never going to go exactly the way you want it to or expect it to at every turn. There's going to be trouble, trial, and pain. Again, this is okay. And the sooner we stop holding out for a world that is perfect, the sooner we can embrace the fact that our contribution is more needed than our pleasure. Discomfort should not surprise us, and we're not the only ones experiencing it. Number three, consider the difference between helpful criticism and complaining. There are times when it is entirely appropriate to raise attention to a wrong being committed. This can be helpful and should never be discouraged. And so decipher if the situation can and should be resolved and whether you are in a position to play a role in that. If not, there's a good chance that our complaints have no real interest in dialogue, and in that case, they should be avoided. Number four, be mindful of your audience. Are you speaking to someone who can help solve the problem or has a vested interest in bringing about a resolution? If so, use problem-solving language. If not, tread lightly. And if you absolutely must continue, preface your complaint with impact-reducing language. For example, can I just vent for a short minute? Maybe all you need to orient yourself and your listener towards your purpose and goal, and be helpful in reminding yourself to keep it brief. Number five, avoid beginning conversations with a complaint. Take notice of how often we initiate conversations with a complaint, oftentimes subconsciously, maybe because it garners a heightened response, but remove it from your arsenal and try spreading cheer with your opening line instead. Number six, refuse to complain for the sake of validation. Sometimes we complain only as a way to validate our worth. I'm just so busy is a pretty good example of this, and we say it as a means to subtly communicate our importance. Don't seek to impress others with your complaints. This strategy won't gain you any friends in the long run anyway. Number 7, notice your triggers. Is there a specific time of day when you complain more than others? Morning, evening, late afternoon, when your spouse is home, or when you're out for lunch with your friends? Maybe it's around the water cooler with your coworkers. Take notice of some of these triggers, then avoid them if at all possible. And if they can't be avoided, then make an extra point to be vigilant when you see them arise. Number 8, try an experiment. Setting a goal of never ever complaining again is unrealistic and counterproductive. Instead, try designating a short period of time where you can be particularly mindful. For example, decide to go just one day without complaining. The shorter time period will allow you to concentrate more fully on your goal, and it will foster increased sensitivity to your words. Mindless complaining serves little purpose in our lives. It fosters displeasure, spreads negativity, and sparks conflict. We'd be happier without it. And so moving forward, let's recognize and embrace the positive instead.